Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire, everybody. Now today we're going to be walking along the Humber for a short distance, but before we get there, there's a few things to see first in this place. For example, we have All Saints Parish Hall, which belongs to All Saints Parish Church, which is there. It's quite the local landmark because of its tall spire. We're heading this way down towards the river. Welcome to North Ferriby. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to North Ferriby, another village on the banks of the River Humber, located in the Haltemprice area of the East Riding of Yorkshire. North Ferriby is approximately 8 miles west of Hull city centre. To the north, up a hill, is Swanland, and South Ferriby is directly opposite the village on the south bank of the river. North Ferriby is generally referred to as just Ferriby by the locals on the north bank, something which is evident at the local railway station, which is called Ferriby as opposed to North Ferriby. The village was once significant for Ferriby Priory, which was here in or around the year 1160 and was founded by Lord Eustace Broomfleet de Vesci in the reign of King John. It was dissolved along with the lesser monasteries in the 1500s thanks to Henry VIII. The site of this priory is said to have been in the possession of 100 different persons. Through time, the village has been in the possession of the Mortimer, Pole and the Bacon families. It once had several elegant mansions, some of which still stand today. These were evident from around 1750 onwards as wealthy Hull merchants started to build large houses here. We'll see at least 2 of these houses on our route around the village. Time for a wander then around this historic place. It's got lots to talk about, including some things which were found in the Humber estuary. We start at the parish hall, well used by all in the local community. Its largest room is known as Sandham Hall, which is a great venue for children's birthday parties apparently. Outside we have a large chunk of Welsh granite, which was, according to the plaque upon it, given by the young people of North Ferriby in memory of the Reverend D.J. Bullman. The church was designed by John Loughborough Pearson and was completed in 1848. It was designated a Grade 2 listed building in 1968. It's noted for its distinctive spire. There were probably 4 bells in its tower initially, 3 of which came from an old church. There were 5 in 1864 and a 6th was added for Queen Victoria's Jubilee in 1897. A suspended ceiling was added in 1993 to reduce noise in the ringing chamber. The clock, which was also added in 1897, is accessed via a spiral stone staircase from the choir vestry. Okay people, we're in the church here at North Ferriby. So we've got a very large window to start things off at the end of the chancel. Let's see what this one looks like. It's very pretty. Quite a high chancel too. There's some coats of arms on the wall up here, on the walls I should say, because they're on both sides. Up here, look, on this side, and again on this side. There's a Platinum Jubilee, I don't know what it is, but it's something to do with the Platinum Jubilee. Like a banner. It's in front of the organ here. That's quite nice. Next to that, we've got a keyboard and a drum kit, obviously for all those church hymns. And what's this? I'm not totally sure what that is. Is it a verse from the Bible, maybe? I'm not religious, so I don't know. Let's go to the back here. I can see a font. There we go. Standard octagonal font, pretty much. There's a list of rectors here and vicars. Goes back to 1272. The latest one on there is 1999, Anthony Bash. Let's see what else we can find. I'm looking for a roll of honour. I don't know whether there is one in here. Let's see what this tablet's about. Ooh. This monument was erected to the memory of the Etherington family, who for many years resided in this village and whose remains are deposited below. Okay. Oh, I can hear a ticking noise that's coming from this box here. That's going to be the electric meter. I might not do that job anymore, but I still know what to listen for. That's to Norman Lee Sissons, a lieutenant in the 11th Battalion East Yorkshire Regiment, killed in action near Bethune in 1916. I think that's the closest I'm going to get to a roll of honour or some kind of war memorial in here, though, to be honest with you. I haven't seen one on the walls. So yeah, that's not a bad little church, this. I'll say little, big church. Certainly one of the biggest churches I've seen so far. We'll leave a card and we'll move on towards the next landmark, which, by the way, is a football ground. Leaving the church, we're faced with a row of shops, including a hair salon and a pharmacy. North Ferriby's amenities aren't really clustered together, they're spread out a bit. I found 2 phone boxes on this route. Here's the first one on the end of New Walk. As is now usual for the East Riding, both were that distinctive cream colour only found in this part of Yorkshire. This is North Ferriby Village Hall, which describes itself as the beating heart of the village. It was founded over 100 years ago. Twice a year there's a very popular Saturday craft and produce market here. Next we go down Grange Lane, which is where North Ferriby Football Club are based. North Ferriby should not be confused with North Ferriby United, and I'll explain why shortly. This is their ground, the Dransfield Stadium, which has a capacity of 3,000. Not bad for a team playing in the depths of non-league, although a few years ago, football here was a little different. Now, of course, it's not that long ago that North Ferriby had a team in the National League, the 5th tier of English football. But of course, it wasn't the current football club. This is North Ferriby Football Club. It was North Ferriby United who were in that league. They were liquidated in 2019. And this is the Phoenix Club, playing on the same ground, although it did get renamed. And yeah, they find themselves now in Tier 9, I believe. The Premier Division of the Northern Counties East. Okay, there's more than just the football club down here. We've also got a massive park which has got all sorts of things. You might be able to hear some children in the background because there's a play area just behind this camera. There's also a big playing field and a cricket club down here as well. So let's go and check all that lot out. It's all this way. The enormous playing field is where you will find North Ferriby's Cricket Club, currently members of the Holderness Division 3 of the Yorkshire Premier League North. There's also a huge park, seemingly popular in warm weather, and there's 3 tennis courts and a newly built skate park to go with it all. It's well served around here. The allotments next, and all the fans out there will be loving these. Named the Anne Turner Memorial Allotments, these were presented in a declaration of trust deed to the parish in 1905, after the death of Anne Turner 3 years earlier in 1902. The allotments have massive benefits to the lives and well-being of North Ferriby's residents. Next up is the River Humber, and to get to that we pass under the local railway line. We'll be getting a good look at Ferriby's railway station in a short while. Right, let's go down to the River Humber along the Riverside Walkway. The clue is in the name. This is the entrance to the Riverside Walkway, a vast open meadow along the shore of the Humber, which offers some fabulous views over the river and of the Humber Bridge. At the entrance you'll find the exceptionally popular Riverside Walkway Cafe, perfect for both before and after a stroll around the area. Also down here is the Riding for the Disabled Association, which provides the opportunity for people of all ages and disabilities to interact with and learn to ride horses and ponies and donkeys. And now we're at a public footpath that forms part of both the Transpennine Trail and the Yorkshire Wolds Way. We've seen this before in Hessle. It's on this path where something amazing was found. From this distance you do get a good idea of the scale of how big the Humber Bridge is. I know we've been across it in the Hessle episode, but really from this distance you do get a more sort of lasting impression, don't you, of how big the structure is. It's magnificent, looks brilliant. Now you can also see from here, if I pan the camera around slightly, the Cemex works, Cemex factory at South Ferriby, straight across the Humber. This is the northern twin, if you like, to South Ferriby. And in that episode I mentioned the Ferriby boats. And if I pan the camera around again, we can see the Ferriby Boats Memorial. Let's talk about that now. North Ferriby foreshore gave up an ancient secret back in the 1930s. This part of the Humber estuary was where the earliest known sewn plank boats outside Egypt were found. Known as the Ferriby boats, the first one, known as Ferriby Boat 1, was discovered when its wooden planks were found by local man Ted Wright on the shore of the Humber. 2 further boats were then discovered. Some 60 yards upstream, Wright found the end of a second boat in 1940, and that became known as Ferriby Boat 2. In 1963, Wright completed a hat trick. Ferriby Boat 3 was found close to the site of Ferriby Boat 1. 3 more finds were made in the 1980s and 1990s, but these were of less importance. In the late 1990s, scientists from Oxford were able to demonstrate that the 3 boats dated from as far back as 2030 BC. Wright had already put forward that theory much earlier in his 1990 book called The Ferriby Boats: Seacraft of the Bronze Age. I could stand here all day and admire the River Humber. It's like a mill pond today. It's really calm. Last time we saw the Humber from this side of the river, it was quite windy, it was quite choppy, if you remember. I was struggling to make you guys hear what I was saying because the wind was that strong. I was literally just over there underneath the Humber Bridge, and now it's a marked contrast. It's so peaceful. The tide's definitely out as well because I can see quite a few sandbanks. Those sandbanks have got names, by the way. Some of them I'll put in the caption at the bottom of the screen. But for the next part of this route, we're just walking down the Humber, and we'll turn back towards the village in a few moments. We'll head up towards the train station because that's our next major landmark. That's if I can take my eyes off the Humber, because for some reason it's mesmerising today. I have to admit it's been a while since I saw the Humber this calm. Our journey continues westwards along Ferriby foreshore, and it's not long before we reach a fork in the path. That fork gives us the choice of either a high tide route or a low tide route. The latter is the one I was after because it leads directly to Humber Road, where the station is. However, little did I know that means walking down the beach. If you don't want to get your feet wet, the high tide route runs to Ings Lane, which then emerges onto Humber Road. That wasn't easy. I'll be honest with you. But we're at the steps and we are now heading back into the village. The train station is our next major landmark. Let's go and find that next. Ferriby railway station is situated on the former Hull and Selby railway. The station has a basic hourly service in each direction on weekdays. Some Hull-bound trains continue towards Bridlington. It has a slightly unusual layout in that the eastbound platform is located on the main running line, but the westbound one is on a loop, which continues on towards Brough. It's been here since 1840. You'll notice there are 3 lines. The extra line used to serve Melton Halt, built for works trains to and from the Humber Cement Works at Melton, which operated from 1920 until 1989. Once away from the station we have a parish notice board. All the ones I found in North Ferriby were like this wooden pin board. Yay for conserving my blue tack supplies. Mark it off, folks. From here we're into a residential area with lots of trees overhanging suburban-like avenues which are long and straight. There's not much to say about this area, but I had planned for that. So because this is a residential area, most of the shots I take on this part of the route will be in the rest of section at the end of this video. The next thing you'll see therefore is going to be the high street, unless of course there is something of interest between here and there, in which case you'll get that first. There were a couple of things. First of all, this street, which is called the Triangle, for obvious reasons. In the centre of the street is a huge green in the shape of a triangle. On Corby Park we pass a bus stop. We haven't talked about those yet. From this stop you can catch 2 services, the 143 and the 150, the latter of which goes to Hull. Now we're on Melton Road. In the direction you're looking in here is a grade separated junction where the B1231 meets the A63, which was completed in 2007. Bronze Age round barrows were found by archaeologists excavating the land on which that junction was built. A walk down Melton Road brings us to the high street, passing some pretty impressive properties on the way. They're only going to get grander from this point onwards. Here's where we also find the current Methodist church, which opened in 1878 and has recently been extensively refurbished. There's certainly not just one style of house along the high street. Take for example this one here, which is wildly different to the one right next door to it. Obviously there's an age difference because that is far older than those, but it's the same all the way up. Characterful street. Narrow lane, and there's a couple of old buildings on here which are notable. For one, in the centre of this shot is an old forge. Both it and its neighbour have been converted now into houses. That neighbour is this quaint little building. When the Methodists first established a chapel here in 1828, it was in this very building. It was later converted into an Oddfellows Hall. Now we're on Low Street, and this is, I suppose, what you'd call the village centre. Along here there's a cafe, a hairdresser's, a social club, and a few other odds and ends. The cafe is called Ferriby's. It's a delightfully renovated coffee house and serves homemade cake too. It's open from Tuesdays to Saturdays. This is the Ferriby Social Club, which, like the village hall, has been going for over 100 years. According to a local who I was chatting to at this point, the drinks in here are very reasonably priced. So directly opposite the Ferriby Social Club we've got this building, and on the wall it tells you what it used to be. It is the old bank. A couple more paces and we arrive at Low Street Pizza. Away to the right of shot here is Reading Room Yard. Whether that building still stands or not now, I'm not too sure. Low Street then becomes School Lane, and we'll see why it's called that in a short while. This is where we must turn around and head back for Turner's Lane. I'm glad I did too, because from the other direction we see a plaque on this wall commemorating local artist Tom Harland. He was a well-known painter of landscapes and was popular for his scenes of well-known local landmarks. I also caught this on the way back too, which was a bit of luck because it would have been so easy to miss. Number 10 Low Street is the old post office, according to its front door. This old stable block is a sign of things to come as we hit the high street again. In the 18th century, rich Hull merchants moved to Ferriby for cleaner air. They built some amazing properties in doing so. So Turner's Lane brings us back to the high street once again. Now there's an interesting property over there behind this white one. I'm going to go and have a look at that next. And then we're heading this way past the Duke of Cumberland, which is the pub just hiding away there behind that tree. And that will take us down to the War Memorial, and at that point we're almost around North Ferriby. The property in question was the magnificent Manor House, a fine example of the former grandeur that was at one time all along the high street. The pub is called the Duke of Cumberland. Fun fact, in 1882 the City of Hull Athletics Club held their first run from the original Duke of Cumberland, which was demolished in the 1920s. The original pub stood right next door where the current pub's car park is. In 2013, a brand new co-op store was built on part of that car park, itself relocating to a larger premises. Opposite that we have Ferriby House. This, like the Manor House, is an outstanding example of the stately homes and mansions North Ferriby once had. This dates from 1775. It was built by Sir Henry Etherington, you'll recall that name from the church. What a fabulous piece of architecture. This is now used as a private residential home for the elderly. So just like the phone box in Swanland, North Ferriby's is the same weird design, and it still has a working phone as well. And there it is. Moving on, there's another big house to see after this bus stop, which has some nice Platinum Jubilee artwork by the local children. One big house that no longer stands is Aston Hall, built and occupied in the 1740s by the grandfather of William Wilberforce, the man famous for his anti-slavery bill. This, though, is Ferriby Hall, now a restaurant called Medici. Behind this, there's a squash club. The North Ferriby War Memorial next, which takes the form of a cross on a two-stepped square base. This was unveiled by Lord Nunbonome and dedicated by the Bishop of Hull in 1920. It's on the corner of Church Road, and on the other side we have the Coronation Gardens. No prizes for guessing where today's thumbnail came from. And lastly, the primary school, which oddly occupies both sides of this road. The Key Stage 1 building is to our left, and over the road to the right is the Key Stage 2 building. Okay, I'm just a couple of yards away from the car. I've taken a perch here just to introduce today's picture bits. This bench is to celebrate 60 years of North Ferriby's Ladies Choir. Thank you, ladies, for allowing me this seat just for a few seconds. That's been quite a nice but very arduous walk round. In fact, it's hilly in places, North Ferriby. I didn't realise it was, but there you go. That is North Ferriby, apart from today's picture bit, of course, and you're going to get that right now. do have a couple of things remaining to show you. One of them is the building which I'm virtually parked outside, and that is North Ferriby Library. A few paces away from that, there's another old building of interest. I don't know what this is yet, but we're going to find out. Here we go. It's behind this bush. It looks like an old school. It says Master House right there, so I'm assuming that was the schoolmaster's house, if indeed this was an old school. There's a plaque on the other end as well, which says, yeah, it is a school, because that is the pupil's end. That plaque there says pupil's end, so that's an old school. Oh, it does say it in the middle as well. 1877 this was erected. Can't read totally what it says. Charles Turner, in memory of Charles Turner, born June the something 1803, died in 1815. It's so hard to read, I can't tell what it says. Anyway, that building dates from 1877. And the last thing I want to show you is a road junction, because North Ferriby is of course linked to the major road network via the A63, which of course then becomes the M62 the further towards the west you go. And I need to go down that road because that's my way home back to Rotherham. And so I'm going to put the camera on the dash and we're going to drive out towards that junction and talk a bit about it as we do. But apart from that, that's North Ferriby, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out. So this is Ferriby High Road, which leads to the east towards Hull. At one time, this was the main road through North Ferriby. Since 1961, the village has been bypassed by the A63. The former A63 is now the B1231. Access to the village can be gained from two junctions, one of them we've already talked about. The other one to the east is known as Theraby Interchange. Just before we look at the junction, I nipped into the hotel you can find right on it. This is the Hull Humber View Hotel. Ideally situated, it's a popular choice with visitors wanting to explore Hull. It offers some great views of the Humber Bridge too. It was previously a Hallmark hotel, but this changed as a result of the pandemic. Thanks to new owners, it was saved from permanent closure. To the Ferriby Interchange. Technically speaking, Ferriby Interchange forms the junction of the A63 and the A164. The A164 starts from this point and then proceeds to Driffield via the start and end of the A15. In actuality though, this junction is better known for being the place where the A15 meets the A63, and it's a busy junction at pretty much any time of day, and it's not hard to understand why. The A15 is the road which crosses the Humber Bridge, and the A63 becomes the M62 in one direction and the main road through Hull in the other. Let's have a drive around it to finish this one off.